Okay, well, I'm going to get started. First things first, I want to make sure I still hear a lot of background noise. If everyone can mute their phones, that would be great. I'm recording these training sessions, so it's really important that I get the quality control that I need. All right, perfect. I appreciate that. So good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Before I get into this training module, I do want to just give a general overview of, the sales training invites that I sent out and the objective of them. First and foremost, I just feel like there's a overall need to really dive into the different steps of the sale to help us improve some proficiencies as well. So the training sessions that we're going to do, they all are going to tie together to make a sales process. And then ultimately what I'm going to do probably in early March is get out in the field and do a full training session with everybody, and they will provide a lot more dialogue and feedback and role playing. And I really want to get to a point where we perfect our sales process and build best practices. And, the sales training that I'm doing is really tried and proven methods to how to effectively take a customer through a sales process. Before I get into that, though, I do want to make a couple things. I want to put a couple rules here in place. Number one, I would like everyone to mute their phones during these training calls unless you have a question. Number two, I'd like us to really try to be on the call 5 minutes early so that I can start the calls, on time. There's going to be a lot of meat in the agenda, and I've given myself a very ambitious schedule to go through what I want to cover in a half hour. But if I'm 3 or 4 minutes in and I'm trying to still get people to log on, or I'm hearing people beeping in to join the call 3, 4, 5 minutes late, it's just going to delay getting the training started, and it's going to minimize the amount of content that we can cover in the half hour. I want to be cognizant that we're all busy and that we all have business to go run. I want to be able to have a hard stop, at 9:30 so you guys can get on with making sales and hopefully take the lessons from that day, apply them, and create some business for yourself and for the company. So those are the two simple rules that I have. Mute your phone and be on time, and that means 5 minutes before we start. So market managers, I'm going to ask you to hold your team accountable to that. As you can still hear, we're at 9:04 and we still have people joining the call. So 8:55, dial in, be ready to go at 9 o'clock. I'd appreciate that. So let's talk about today's training module, and that's the intro call. And I want to make sure I make people understand this. The intro call could be really two things. It could be an intro call when the appointment is booked for you, but an intro call, for lack of a better term, we call it that, could also be what you do when you actually are the one booking the appointment. If you are canvassing, or if you're at an event, or you get a self-generated lead or a referral lead, you can still take people through the intro call process. So it applies to both when someone books, the customer care team books an appointment for you, and it also applies, if you're booking the appointments yourself. So I want to be clear on that. So if we go to the concept and objective of an intro call, it's pretty simple. And I just want to ask one more time that people mute their phone because I can still hear background noise. Okay, so I can still hear background noise. All right, thank you. Okay, so the concept and objective of an intro call, number one, is to start building a relationship and rapport with the customer. Number two is to set expectations for the appointment, to confirm the appointment, and also set the expectation of how long the appointment should take. It's also an opportunity for us to continue to build the value of, what we're going to propose to them. Another objective is to get an initial sense of a customer's motivations, questions, and concerns. encourage all decision makers to be present at the sit, and then ultimately to direct our customers to our website prior to the visit. So if we look at this, guys, I really need you to mute your phones. The background noise is distracting on this. Please. Thank you. Okay. So think about it this way. If you do a good intro call and you look at all these objectives and you said, yes, I built rapport and I started my relationship with the customer, I feel comfortable with them, they feel comfortable with me, I've clearly explained the expectations of what's going to happen on the appointment, I've confirmed the appointment with them, they're good with how long it's going to take, I've added some extra value and built some extra enthusiasm and anticipation for what solar can do for them. The customer is able to tell me and talk to me about their motivations, any questions that they're going to have or concerns, and that I've got it where they've confirmed that all the people who are going to weigh in on making the decision will be present, and that the customer is definitely going to go check out our website prior to the visit. If we can establish all of those things on the intro call, how well do you think our appointment's going to go with the customer? And I would say that you have just enhanced the likelihood of closing business with that customer because you've put yourself in the best position to get and earn that customer's business by doing this. So that's really the objective. We always want to put ourselves in the best position, the best environment, the best circumstances with the right people to move our sales process forward. And so doing a good intro call and establishing all these things is really the key to ensuring that happens. So if we look at step one, building relationship and rapport, I guess the first question is, if the appointment was booked for us, when do we call them? And I would say that we have to call them within 24 hours. I used to refer to appointments, they used to use this phrase called speed to appointment. And speed to appointment is a really important thing to keep the momentum going. So people have an initial interest. They get enthusiastic or excited based on the initial inquiry or the initiation that we do in getting them interested. But we've got to keep that energy, that enthusiasm, that emotion moving forward. And the best way to keep that going forward is to do it in short increments. And so part of that is to make sure that when you see an appointment hit your calendar, that you're doing an outreach to that customer within 24 hours. And the why is because you need to keep moving the emotion and the value building forward. The longer the gap between communication from the time the appointment was set to the actual appointment, the more the enthusiasm wanes and the more likelihood that people will start to reschedule or cancel, because life happens and people get busy, and we've got to keep the value of what we're doing at the forefront of their mind. So it's really important that we do that within 24 hours. And the reason why it's important to the visit is it allows the customer and you the opportunity to get comfortable with each other. Think about showing up at a customer's house blind. So the appointment was set, you haven't done an intro call. You're going to a customer's house, you don't know what's on the other side of the door, and vice versa. The customer has no idea of the person who's coming to show up at their house. If you can establish good rapport prior to this, when you get to the home, there's already been that relationship established, just easier for the rapport to kind of keep moving forward from there. I think the other thing that's important is it allows you to build value and enthusiasm. When people consider giving someone a piece of their time, there has to be a value to them for that time. We all have busy schedules. And if we think something's going to be a waste of time or we don't see the value in that time, we are more likely not to give people that time. And so creating the value of savings or energy independence and what solar can do for them is going to be really important. And the last point, and I made this point earlier, it puts you in the best position to close business, which is ultimately what we're really trying to do, is put ourselves in the best circumstances to move forward with it. So the next step is setting expectations. So when we get on an intro call with people, there's a few things that we want to do to set expectations. I think first of all, we should express to them and make sure we confirm how long the presentation or the sit is going to take. And I would say that we should all agree on a time frame, and I think 60 minutes is the right time to use. I think that when you start to get into 90 minutes, or even 2 hours, which hopefully we shouldn't be taking unless, we have a complex situation, I think that is not a time that scares people. Like, I can give people an hour of my time, but when you start getting into 90 minutes, it starts to seem like, wow, that's a long time for someone to be at my house. But what's going to naturally happen is when you get to the home and they've committed to 60 minutes, as you get into building the value of what you're doing and people start to see the value, people will give you more time than 60 minutes because they're involved in the value of it. But prior to you sitting with them, I think 60 minutes is the right thing to do. The second thing in setting expectations is you should go through what you're going to cover during the consultation.
What I was thinking is, why don't we have, in the conference room?
Hey guys, whoever's talking about the conference room, I can hear you, and I've clearly said probably 10 times that I need you to mute your phone, so can you just please do that for me now? Sorry, I've just asked a bunch of times, and it just keeps distracting the presentation, so I'd appreciate that. Thank you. So, sorry for the rest of you guys who had to hear that, but we should set a soft agenda with our customers. Mr. and Ms. Jones, here's what I'm going to do when I come over to your home. First of all, I want to make sure that I get a full understanding of what your needs and motivations are. I want to make sure that you fully understand, how solar works and how it interconnects with the utility. I want to make sure that I go through and review your utility bill, what you're paying, how you get charged for your electricity, so you understand, how you have an alternative to just buying your energy from the utility company. Based on your needs and wants and motivations and based on how you currently buy your power, I'm going to offer you or propose to you what I feel is the best solution for you. And then ultimately, if you like everything that you propose and you want to move forward, we'll start the process of getting you into the installation queue. How does that sound? And so what you're doing is you're walking people through, this is what I'm going to cover for you. And it's all really about educating and consulting and finding out their needs and motivations. And then letting them know clearly that you're going to propose a solution to them. And you're subtly saying, if you like everything you hear, we're going to get you in the installation queue, which ultimately means we want to ask you for your business, if you like everything you hear, and how does that sound? And you're basically confirming that that's okay with them. And that's how we set the expectations for what we're going to do on the visit. And getting to buy into that. Another part of doing an effective intro call is building value. I think a great question to ask people on building value is a simple question. How long have you been considering solar, or is this the first time? And then really let people talk about where they're at in the process. I think that if you allow people to really elaborate on that simple question, you're really going to find that people will give you a lot of insight into where they're at. Either people have been considering this for a long time. If you've had people who have been considering it for 2 years, you probably know this. You're dealing with someone who's really super analytical and is indecisive. If you have a person that's saying, well, I haven't really considered it, but I talked to this person at this event and it seems like, wow, I'll take a look at it. You know that you have a person that probably needs a lot of education on solar and how it works and the benefits and things like that, or somewhere in between, but it's really gauging for you where the customer's at in the process. And an effective salesperson is able to recognize where a person's at in the process, and different people have different places. Some have been considering this for a while and know a lot. Some people know very little, and it's our job to meet people where they're at. So that's a great indication of that. And you can start to develop a game plan on how you're going to cover these things based on where the person's at. I think another thing which is good is you want to uncover, what are their expectations on what solar will do for them? And that's a great question. So a couple things that happen there. Number one, you will definitely, absolutely find out what people's perception of solar is. And we all know, if you've been in this business for a little bit, that people have so many misconceptions and misunderstandings of what solar can do and what it does and what it will save them and how much it costs and all the above. And not that we necessarily want to dive into answering everything there, but at least it gives you a gauge as to their perception of what solar and what their motivation for what solar is going to do for them. And that's an important thing for you to understand and uncover initially. And then I put a note here to reinforce and assure them. So no matter what a person says is their motivation, that's for me, this is the beauty of solar, is that there's multiple motivations. It could be saving money. It could be energy independence. It could be environmental. And I think whatever motivation the customer says is theirs and what their expectations are, I think it's important, and as part of the value building, is to reinforce and assure them that we have a solution to meet their motivations. So if a person is talking, let's just say environmental, like I really feel like I know it saves me money, but really just want to do my part for the environment. My response to that would be, Mrs. Jones, that's fantastic. A lot of our customers really have an environmental motivation to do this. The great thing about solar is it has so many positive environmental impacts. So one of the things I will do when I sit with you is I'll actually go through some of the positive environmental impacts that solar can make for you. Or if it's about saving money, again, we speak to that. But again, reinforce and assure them that whatever their motivation is, we have a solution for them. And what that's going to do is that's going to start to build the customer's enthusiasm, their anticipation, their excitement to see you. So really important, that step is to reinforce and assure them. I think the last thing I would do on an intro call with building value is I would compliment the customer on the quality of their site. I think we want people to feel like they're in a unique class, because if you think, especially on the East Coast, like we live in a forest. Site quality is a huge challenge for, 40, 50, 60% of people. They can't go solar. They live in a forest. Their house is oriented the wrong way. They've got crazy architecture with dormers and things like that just don't allow us to do solar. I think letting people know that they're one of the select few that actually can even consider going solar, I think it's an important thing for people to recognize. I almost feel like there's almost like a little bit of a built-in obligation. Well, geez, I'm one of the select few that can even do this. I really should consider doing this. Something that I would say is to customers, Mr. Jones, I'm looking at your house on the satellite imagery here, and your house is actually awesome for solar. I feel like we're going to have a great solution for you, and you're one of the lucky few. Unfortunately for me, part of my job is, sometimes I'm looking at the site quality of a customer's house and they just can't do it. And it's a shame that we have people who are motivated to want to go solar and save money and make a positive impact on the environment. They just can't because they don't have the site quality that you do. So it's good for you. So that works out well. I'm looking forward to talking to you more about that. And just a little compliment to make them realize that they're unique and their site is unique. Tends to add value. The next step here for me is an important part of setting ourselves up for success on the sit, and that is to try to encourage all decision makers to be present. But I do want to clarify this. I don't ever make it a rule of thumb that if we can't get all decision makers to the sit, we're not going to do it. That's not what we're going to do. But I think if we can encourage people and explain and give them a rational reason and logical reason why all decision makers should be present, we're going to increase the likelihood that all decision makers will make themselves available. And we all know that when you have all decision makers present, at the initial sit, the likelihood of you closing business increases 3x, 4x, 5x when we do that. So one of the questions that I would ask when we make a decision, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, is there anyone else besides you that will be part of deciding if you want to do this? Simple question. My husband's definitely gonna want to weigh in on this. Great. Is your husband going to be there? Was he planning on being there? Whatever way you want to ask that question. If the answer is yes, great. Because there's a lot of important details that I'll cover, and it's good to answer everyone's questions, literally at the same time. But if the answer is no, I have a much different approach to that. And for me, it's like, okay, do you think there's a chance they could be available? And the only reason I encourage this is because I do cover a lot of important details that will help you both decide if solar is a good fit. And if they can't, make themselves available, should we consider another time to meet? And then sometimes I'll even add there, and the reason I suggest that strongly is if it's really important for both of you to weigh in on this, inevitably I come back and go through the same things with the person that wasn't there anyway. So maybe it makes sense to get you both together at the same time so we can find a new time to meet. And so when we encourage that, there's a couple scenarios that will happen. Number one, someone might say, you know what, let me check. I think, what they're doing I don't think is that important, and let me see if I can and make sure that they're here. Sometimes they'll say, no, I can do this. I can make the decision. And I love when people say that because now they're just committing to saying they can make a decision. And, if they say they have to ask their spouse at the end after they confirm that they said they could, I will delicately bring that up to them. Well, you did say that you could do that. Or people will say, you know what, I just can't work, and I just have to do it with me. And if that's the case, then that's the case. We just do the appointment with the one-legger. But I think it's important for us to encourage and use logic as to why we want all decision makers to be present if that's possible. And look, this isn't something that's you're gonna have success with 100% of the time. But if you can improve the sit rate with all decision makers by 30%, that's 30% of your sits that you've put yourself in a better position to close. And if that means that you can improve your close rate by 5%, then that ultimately means another 1 or 2 or 3 sales a month just because you've made slight improvements. And if you do that, let's say that we all incorporate this, and there's 20 sales reps, and you all can improve your close rate by 5%. That's probably, just based on our current sales staff, that's probably an additional 20 to 25 sales per month for the sales organization. That's almost $1 million in revenue that we've created for the company and for ourselves. It's substantial. And as our organization gets bigger, that's going to be even more so. And the last point here is don't be afraid to reschedule if it puts you in a better situation to close, but don't insist if it won't work for them. In other words, if you just get the sense that, man, I really need to sit with both of these people together, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to reschedule, because ultimately what we're trying to do is put ourselves in the best situation to close. And then the final slide I have for you is let's drive our customers before the call to our website. And the reason why are pretty simple. Number one, it's going to build value and credibility. If you guys haven't checked out our website, I love our website. I think it's set up. I love the visuals. I love the content. And it just shows people like this overall tone of wanting to do something good and moral and take care of our customers and all the things that, people want to do business with. I love our website and what it does there. I think the other thing is that it drives the organic search. And the more people that get driven to our website, the more it creates awareness online and digitally for people to find us. But I think the last point and most important to me is that if you are enthusiastic about telling people to go to our website, Mr. Ms. Jones, you should check out our website. It's awesome, and you're going to get some great insight into what we do. It demonstrates your personal company pride in what you do. And people sense that you're proud to work here. Go check out our website. It's awesome. And that's a good thing to demonstrate, not just on the intro call, but obviously when you're sitting with customers. And so a simple thing to say is, Mr. and Ms. Jones, before we meet on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, you should definitely check out our website. There's a lot of great info about our company, solar, and other services that we provide. The website is www.palmetto.com. Go check it out. You'll love it. And I just think that that's a great way to end the call, and obviously saying, look forward to meeting you and going through everything with you on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and just confirm the appointment one last time as you leave. So that's what I wanted to go through with you guys today. I did want to leave a couple minutes here at the end for any questions or feedback that anyone wants to add. So at this point, if you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to unmute yourself and fire away. I know you guys aren't shy.
Hey, Jim, this is Josh down in New Jersey.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, just, thanks for rolling this out, and just wanted to, ask one question. If an appointment is, 4 or 5 days out, and, we get notified 5 days before, but the call center inside sales rep has a task or event to call and confirm the customer like 2 days out. Should we wait to make that intro call until the call center contacts the customer? And then
yeah, it's a good question. And I know that we don't want to overdo it with a bunch of people calling. I think, Josh, if you do your call within 24 hours, that should solve that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I also think that if customer care has set an expectation that they will call and confirm, a day or two before, then we're just setting the expectations and people expect them to call. Same thing with the intro call. Part of the customer care talk track is they are telling customers and setting the expectation that you are going to call and you are going to introduce yourself. And it's really a nice way that they introduce that to you. It's along the lines of, hey, Mr. Jones, Josh, the rep that's going to come out and see you, he's going to call you within the next, 24 hours. He just wants to, call and say hello and just introduce himself. So you get a chance to, to meet him at least on the phone initially, before he comes out and sees you. That's all. It's just a very, low-key way of letting the customer know that you're going to introduce yourself. But once you introduce yourself, you can go through a lot of the things that we just went through. Great. Anyone else?
Great.
Anybody? All right. So tomorrow we are going to talk about asking for referrals, and that's going to be a great session. So I'm going to send out this recorded session. So anyone wants to come back and listen to it, they certainly can. So tomorrow, a couple things. Number one, be on at 8:55. Log on, call in, make sure we're ready to roll, and make sure our phones are muted. And we have a lot of content on asking for referrals. And I want to give a big shout out to Vinny Smith, who one call closed a referral yesterday. That is going to be a nice segue into tomorrow's training session. So have a great day, everybody. Let's go out and let's write some business. Let's start to implement these intro calls, and let's go kick some butt. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Thanks, Jim.